Hello everyone and welcome to Walford Weekly, your weekly EastEnders podcast, where this week we'll be discussing the episodes released on the BBC in the UK from Monday the 2nd to Thursday the 5th of May 2022. Hope you've had a lovely week. It's been a bit miserable, hasn't it, weather-wise, if you're watching this from the UK. Outside the UK, you're probably having the best weather ever, so lucky you. However, I'm also very lucky because I get to host this show with someone very, very, very smart in his t-shirt. It's Rob, everyone. Hello, Rob.
Hi! Hello everybody, how are you? Yes, now this t-shirt here, again, the next minute and a half is going to be great for the people that just listen, okay? Just imagine the most gorgeous t-shirt you've ever seen in your life. No, to be honest, this t-shirt I've had for ages, and I bought it. You know those items of clothing that you buy, and then you get it home and you think, why did I do that? That was a ridiculous thing to do. And it's sort of just been stuck at the bottom of a drawer for ages.
Constantly.
But it's quite hot today, and this is quite cooling, so I thought I'd stick it on, and now I've got it on. I don't mind it at all. You said to me before we started it was like a football shirt, and I'm quite happy with that.
It does,
like,
but then
reputation.
I think,
oh, right,
yeah,
all that sort of thing.
I feel like that was a conscious decision. Exactly. You want to be a bit Mick Carter, don't you? You know, so that's fine. That's fine. Rob,
yes,
Rob, I see there's
yes.
no calendar on the wall behind you.
Oh, you know why that is, don't you, Alex? It's time to change the dots because we're now in May. Can you believe that? Where is the year going? Where is it going? 2022 is nearly halfway through already. God alive. Right, okay, so we have gone from this lovely old promo picture of Dot, we think, didn't we, to, and I haven't looked at it because I never do, but here we go. It's all like the 5th of May now or something, isn't it? I haven't changed it at all. Here we go. This is May. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Oh,
now,
outside
we're talking 80s here, surely. Look at the colour of the Vic. It's green. That must be early. That must be like late 80s,
so.
just in the show's first few years, surely.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
I believe so. I believe you're right there. In fact, I think in that picture, if they didn't crop it, so it was just her head and just making a fag, that she's holding a laundry basket. I think I've used that picture before in something I've made in the past. So, I do love changing the Dot calendar, and it makes me miss June Brown even more.
Oh, I know. I'm pleased that we've got her sort of... It's like a shrine, my room now, to Dot Cotton. I am absolutely fine with that. So there we are. So that is the next Dot for the next month. So enjoy.
There you go. So if you're watching us on YouTube, you can enjoy that. If you're not watching us on YouTube, why not? Why don't you hop onto YouTube right now and watch the very beginning or the whole of our podcast? But of course, if you prefer to listen to us while you're driving or going for a little stroll with the dog, then you can listen to us on any of your favourite podcast apps as well. Anyway, I think I've done enough filling while Rob tries to sort out the calendar, because every month Rob has the same problem with that calendar, but he's done it. He's done it this time. And we're going to start talking about this week's EastEnders. And before we started recording, we both agreed that it was a bit of a slow week, really. Not much seemed to happen. So I hope we have lots to talk about. But we definitely have lots to talk about when we're concerning with Jean and Harvey and Stacey this week. Because Jean has been sent to a medical facility now to get better. Jean has been visited by Stacey and Harvey. And she quite nastily said, I've never loved either of you. And I don't know why you're kind of looking after me. Which kind of moved Harvey to then kind of talk again about his ex-wife with Kat this week. So we are getting little bits about Harvey's past, with his wife. Exactly. I still want more, but I like that it's little crumbs. How did you feel like seeing a bit of aftermath with Jean's story last week?
Yeah, it was nice. To be fair, when we didn't see much of Jean this week, but the bit that we did see seems much more familiar in terms of Jean in bipolar mode than what we got with her being manic. Because I think this is this whole thing with Jean these past couple of months. It's been the first time that we've experienced Jean going into bad episodes where she's been manic. Normally, Jean is sort of staring into the distance and sort of depressed, and and what we got this week was closer to that. And she's not great at the moment, really, is she? She's in obviously the manic side of it has gone, but the thing is with bipolar, you go up and then you absolutely crash down to the ground, and that's where Jean is at the moment. She doesn't mean any of these things she says. We know that, or maybe she does. I think it's potential that she might have mentioned it with Harvey. Stacey, I think that she might just be lashing out at because she's cross about where she is and upset, and still feels slightly betrayed by Stacey, despite the fact that when she's all done, she will understand why Stacey did it, because at the end of the day, she's done it to Stacey as well. So there is that to think about. I think Stacey sort of took it in her stride. I think it stung, but she's she's okay with it. She understands why Jean might have said that. I mean, this week again, I love Harvey as a character so much. I actually think that Harvey might be one of my favourite characters on the show at the minute, like in the top 3, which is mad, really, when you think about it, because he's not. Yeah, considering my favourite ever character is Janine, it's quite extreme, isn't it, in terms of like the differences between Janine and Harvey. It's like Janine is the most kind of like mad, insane character, and Harvey is the most normal. I often think that Harvey feels like he's been sort of lifted out of 90s EastEnders and popped into present day. Just like, you see how you get on in this.
Right.
It's mad, isn't it? But he feels such a normal human being. Like, he doesn't do much that's kind of hurtful to people. He doesn't do anything that's extreme. And I think that feels really refreshing in this era of madness in soaps at the moment, where everything's got to be absolutely high adrenaline. I just love him. I absolutely love him, and I hope he's around for many years to come.
I agree with you there, actually. It's nice to see that. I think all the Munros have been welcomed very well into the soap. They both all 3 have been in lovely additions to the show. Aaron's maybe a bit more kind of on the extreme side. But we did say last week that we think that story's ended now because he got beaten up. And there was that kind of like encompassing line by Harvey, kind of like, well, hopefully that's that then. And so we think that may be the end. We don't know. Yes. But you're right. And we've complained a few times about the show kind of being a little bit kind of like, there's so many hateful and hurtful characters on the show that whenever someone's doing something a little bit mean or nasty, it's not really showing up anymore because everyone's doing something mean or nasty to one another. And it's interesting this week that I saw that kind of Sam and Janine clashed for the first time as well. You kind of saw scenes with them two kind of together for the first time.
I mean,
so I was interested. Yeah. I was interested about that.
I mean, that scene with Janine and Sam felt a little bit weird to me because it was sort of like, it was almost as though Janine was sort of like, "Oh, you're back too, great, yeah. So we're both bitches back together, right? Cool." And that was about the whole. There wasn't a huge amount of sort of interaction. I'm fairly sure that the two of them have clashed at some point in the past. So I'd be interested to see, seeing as though Sam has sort of come back as a bit of a scheming super bitch. Let's be fair here. In the past, few weeks, she's done more scheming than Janine's done in this return than in the first few episodes that she's been back, and she's clearly up to something still, isn't she? She's clearly trying to manipulate Kat and the Slaters, and then with Jack in some way. So I think we're in the early stages of working out exactly what Sam is up to at the moment. But I mean, I'm really looking forward to sort of seeing how all that plays out. I'd like Janine and Sam to clash a little bit because it's like I said to you last week. I think I was saying this to you. I might not have been saying it to you. Because I occasionally go into podcast mode with friends. You
talk to other people other than me?
Now and again, Alex. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I sometimes leave this room. I take the calendar with me, though. I always put it on the wall behind me before I start talking about EastEnders.
You're contractually obliged to never talk to anyone but me about EastEnders, Rob. From now on, over. Okay. Over it.
That's it. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you. Well, I won't see you next week because I've just been sacked, so I'll see you later. Anyway, so I think I was saying to you or to somebody else that seeing as though we've got super bitch mode in at the moment. It was you, because we were talking about like all the super bitches and Suki and everyone like that. It was you. God, this heat's getting to my head, I tell you. It would be nice for the two super bitches to clash. That's basically what I was saying. And now they've sort of registered each other. It might be nice to sort of see, if they can register each other again and sort of start butting heads. I'd quite like that.
Yes. Ooh, very exciting. I mean, as you alluded to earlier, Sam has had a run-in this week with Kat because Kat had got Tommy on Walford Town Football Club, Arthur's favourite football club. I appreciated that throwback to Arthur, by the way, EastEnders, so keep them coming. Anything to do with Arthur, I will take it. I'm sure it was, Again,
it's your favourite character of all time,
to just cater with me and my Arthur love. Arthur is my favourite character of all time. I may have mentioned it once or twice. Kat has got
the conversation that we and Alex were having before we started recording. Yeah, I am going to say this. The conversation that me and Alex were having before we started recording, when he was talking about what he's looking forward to doing on Sunday, which is to watch a political show on Sunday. I can imagine that being quite Arthur. Just sort of it's like gets in from work. Right, I'd love to sit. I'm going to sit down with a cup of tea and watch a political show on a Sunday, and that's me sorted. Like Last of Us, you're like Last of Us.
Why am I Ashley from Coronation Street?
I don't know. That's Apparently, that's the accent I associate with watching political shows. Northern. All of you like Alan Beck.
Political shows on a Sunday evening.
Yes, that's a northern thing to do.
Oh, fair dues. Fair dues. However, we're going wildly off track here. Kat got Tommy into Walford Town. Oh my goodness. And Walford Town coach found out that Tommy's actually been accused of stabbing a boy and got thrown out of the football club. Martin and Nancy and Zack were basically the ones talking a bit too loudly in the pub. Did say Tommy and stabbing about 5 times in a very short period of time, which I thought was it was almost like it was
Tommy
bound to happen
someone.
at some point.
I said Tommy stabbed someone. Yeah.
Exactly. Sam took it, went running, went up to the coach and said, whoa, I wouldn't have someone in my team like that, and got rid of Tommy. So Kat's in a bit of a dilemma now because she thinks that the school suspended Tommy. Tommy doesn't want anything to do with her anymore either. He's kind of made out that she kind of ruined his life one way or another. Do you think Kat's kind of lost the grip a little bit and now Tommy's going a bit wayward?
I mean, Tommy's just throwing a strop at the moment, isn't he? Because he's not on the football team. He's starting to be a teenager, isn't he? You know what all for teenagers are like. They're not, they always kick off at the parents. I don't think that Sam was entirely responsible for that, and I don't think that Sam was really that responsible for that whatsoever. And that was Kat's perception was that Sam had kind of poked the fire and managed to sort of but Sam was just sort of in the pub when that discussion was going on. And like you alluded to, the coach was on one side of the pub. Martin, Zack and Nancy were right on the other. And I think he's showing the lack of business that the Vic has at the moment, that you can have a conversation from the other side of a building.
Isn't it
and it's still
empty?
Overheard. It's so quiet at the minute, isn't it? I mean, I'm assuming it's still a COVID
that
thing
Vic
going on.
Is
they can't
such
stick
a
it
quiet set.
I know. I'm assuming it's still a COVID production thing and they can't really stick the Vic full of extras at the moment. So I look forward to a time when the Vic can be packed again. Because remember the days where some big event would kick off and it would always get revealed in the Vic and all the extras would get to do all their shocked acting and sort of lean in so that they could be part of the duff. That was great. I miss those days.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Bring back the plate shots. Come on, Johnson.
Come back, Johnson. We miss you.
Come back.
Yes, we're so sorry for everything we said. So Sam is... So I don't really know what Sam is up to at the moment because she says that she's on Kat's side. That feels unlikely. So why is she getting herself involved with Kat's stuff as well? Is it because she wants... no, it'll probably be because she wants to sort of make Kat look stupid to Phil, isn't it? Because I think that Sam feels like she needs to be within the Mitchell house and within the Mitchell family proper. And while Kat's around, she can't really have the role that she wants there, can she? So that's probably it. But I'm not quite sure how
I think she's winding Kat up.
Yeah.
No, I just think she's winding Kat up. I think she's deliberately trying to get on the inside of Kat and just kind of wind her up until the point that she just becomes completely, spun out. And I think you're right. I think that Sam's trying to show that Kat isn't a real Mitchell because she said it a few times, hasn't she, to Kat? And Kat kind of stood up and said, "Oh, I am a Mitchell, actually," which let out an audible groan in this house. To be honest with you, when she said that, she's not. She's a Slater. Keep Kat as a Slater in my heart.
Yeah. Yes.
But. I'm not, I don't like Phil. I don't like Phil. I don't like how Phil kind of like weakens women. I mean, it's like, every time he gets himself a new girlfriend, they just become like lapdogs to poor old Phil, to Phil. And I presume that then Sam, in a weird way, as being his sister, is becoming a bit of a lapdog to Phil now, trying to kind of please him as well. And because she gave that kind of very Grinchy kind of smile, didn't she, when Sam kind of went storming off to have a go at Martin? Yeah, yes. A bit like that. And she kind of, you could tell that she was very pleased with herself, that she was able to kind of pass the buck to...
Cover those cheeks.
He's broken his jaw, everyone. But, so I think Sam her main aim is to wind Kat up. To the point where then Kat kind of says, well, I've had enough of all this. And it doesn't help now that, and Tommy seems to be Kat's number one responsibility now. Like, she's kind of given Scarlett back to Janine. Not that Scarlett's property, but, she was taking care of Scarlett, and Scarlett was very, very, very open with Janine this week. When she said, like, Kat takes an interest in the things I do. You still think I'm into horses and ponies, so you bought these 3 very weird wooden horses from Billy, thinking that they were the things that she wanted. And I just think that Kat's kind of like got rid of everything in her life that she doesn't just so she can make sure she can look after Tommy now. And unfortunately, it's not working out very well for her because now Tommy's kind of resisting her. So it's got undertones of Denny and Sharon, hasn't it? Again,
a little bit actually. Yeah, Tommy keeps kind of kicking off, and then we've seen once with him sort of lashing out and Cat getting injured. I'm not sure. Do you reckon that that's going to rear its head again, or do you think it was just the climax of that particular sort of little mini storyline with the bullying? You sort of wonder whether Tommy is going to. I think Tommy might be worth watching in terms of his temper, and maybe is that going to sort of rear its head again? I'd be interested to see. But yeah, life's not going great for poor old Cat at the moment. She's I think she feels like she's being pulled this way and that, doesn't she? She's trying to keep hold of sort of work out how to be Mrs. Mitchell, despite the fact that she isn't Mrs. Mitchell yet. By marriage, she isn't. There's not a document on earth that calls Cat Mrs. Mitchell. So where she's getting this from, it's a status thing though, isn't it? And she wants to feel as though she's in charge of this big old family. She's trying to prove it to herself. Cat has gone from rags to riches in her mind, hasn't she? She's all of a sudden in charge of this whole empire, wants to be seen as the person who can be capable of doing everything that being Phil Mitchell's bit on the side requires. And I think she's getting a bit of a rude awakening as to the fact that it's not that easy to do. I mean, look at Sharon. Look at everything that Sharon had to go through to do that.
I know.
Cat could do worse than sort of lower her own ego and sort of and talk to Sharon and go, "How do you do this? How did you do this for so many years? What is wrong with you, woman? How do I do this?" But she can't. But she won't do that. She keeps trying to go for advice, but it's not working out. So yeah, I don't think it's going to go well for her.
No. Well, to quote Sharon to Callum, "There's no love like a Mitchell love." So,
that's true.
Need we say more about this story?
Wise words.
Okay, then moving onwards and upwards, we're now going to talk about Rainie and Stuart and little Roland and how Stuart is kind of still not coping very well with looking after the little one. We obviously know the story of what's becoming of Stuart in the next few weeks. I won't say it because if you listened to last week's episode, you probably already know or you read the spoilers already. But it might come up as we're having this discussion. So just to warn you, there may be a spoiler if you don't know the Stuart storyline yet. Okay, so just be aware. But Stuart is being exposed for having taken the painkillers. Rainie was absolutely fine with it. Vi seemed kind of violently disturbed by the fact that Rainie may find out at some point. But she was fine because then she went to bingo and played the big mega jackpot. It only happens once in her lifetime. So Vi was very pleased about that.
Like an eclipse, a bingo eclipse. Yes, it's like Haley's Comet and bingo.
Exactly, and you can only watch. You can only watch Vi through special glasses, or else you'll be blinded by her tops. And Rainie has basically made an agreement with Stuart, saying that if we're going to take the drugs, then I'll look after you, which I thought was a lovely moment, and it's a kind of moment we all kind of waited and expected to happen. Yeah. But finally, Rainie and Stuart are in a position now where they can kind of comfort each other. But it kind of leaves Stuart out of excuses now for why he can look after Roland. So, how's this going to progress now? Because obviously Rainie's running out of options herself because she still works full time while Stuart's recovering.
Yeah, it's all sort of finely balanced at the moment with Stuart. I think he's just about keeping his head above water, but it's a struggle. I still struggle with, you've given the warning, so we can sort of discuss it. I still struggle to think whether the upcoming story of, spoiler, fast forward, cool, okay. I still struggle to think whether the upcoming story of postnatal depression is entirely necessary, because I almost sort of think it feels like Stuart's got enough going on to sort of result in the same sort of feelings. So we've had him have male breast cancer. That was quite hard for him to deal with, and now he's sort of struggling with how he's going to deal with his addictions. Again, quite difficult to deal with, and whether he's going to be around to look after this kid. So it sort of feels like that's enough. But presumably the whole point of that is all of that is supposed to lead into postnatal depression. So I'm sort of interested to see how that's all going to come together. But I liked the scenes with Stuart and Rainie this week. I mean, it does feel like the blind leading the blind as far as the addiction is concerned. But I think that may be the point, and sort of one of these many reasons why Rainie and Stuart work so well together, because they realise how much they have in common. So I hope that we actually get to see some of this sort of filtering of the painkillers from Rainie to Stuart, and sort of see how that plays into their relationship, how Rainie deals with that. The other thing with Roland is that Obviously, because Rainie's a busy woman. She's a business, but she's a busy woman. And she keeps trying to get people to look after the baby, because obviously Vi's not available because it's the once-in-a-lifetime bingo opportunity. Understandable.
Yes.
And obviously Stuart's not in a great space to be looking at. I get it. And obviously Stuart's not in a great place, really, to be on his own with the baby all that much at the moment. So she kind of tries to leave him with Mitch. Now, Mitch being Mitch, is sort of like, yeah, that's great. Oh, he's just a cute baby. Look at him, good baby. Not really thinking about how this might affect Bernie, Bernie's struggling with this now. She clearly is regretting handing over the baby. It feels like another baby that she's lost. I never thought that Bernie would turn into the new Ronnie, of all people. But Bernie seems to be the one that seems to be experiencing the losing of children quite a lot. I didn't. Yeah, so do you think that Bernie is going... Yeah, right. Do you think... Where do you think this is going with Bernie?
Poor Bernie, yes. I don't know if Bernie is that... For me, it feels like this more the thought that Bernie's more upset that she has given her child away rather than the maternal instinct of being a mum for the child. So she kind of, like you say, it's because she's lost a child once already. She feels like this is a more of a loss again that she's done it. But I don't think if she ever did get the child back, she would end up wanting to care for it as a mother. So she kind of tried to turn Mitch away by saying, like, the best. I'd rather that you didn't look after Roland because I am desperately trying to make this clean break. Karen knows this. Bernie knows this. And, the best thing to do that is if you don't also try to, don't look after Roland as well. But unfortunately, Mitch kind of promised that he wouldn't to Bernie. And then when he got to Rainie's house, then proceeded to then say, oh, okay, well, as long as Bernie doesn't find out. Like it's some kind of like little sordid affair. So poor old Bernie now is being lied to by Mitch. And I feel like it's going to be a bit of a problem between them.
Yes, she's not going to be too happy about it, I think. Well, the thing is, Karen's not happy about it because Karen is sort of constantly chastising Mitch for his lack of sensitivity and general emotional intelligence at the moment. Because Karen seems to be on a bit of a mission at the moment to sort of kind of enlighten the men of the taxi office to the art of talking about their emotions, doesn't she? She's trying to do the same thing with Harvey. And she's like literally talking to Mitch like a child at the moment. Like, do you remember what we said about talking and listening, Mitch? You're not doing that, are you? So I don't know if Mitch is really going to take any of it on board. But yeah, Bernie's not going to be happy about this. It's going to sort of cause more upset within the Taylor house. I sort of wonder where this is going in terms of where Roland is going to be in the next year. Because do you think that he is going to stay with Stuart and Rainie, or do you think that it's eventually going to end up with Bernie having him back?
Well, I wonder if, because there was a hint of this week as well, of a story between Bernie and Dotty, where they went to the chess club, which was thrilling, and then Bernie was given a flyer.
Chess club.
That's right. So Bernie was given a flyer by one of the Chessians. What do you call a chess player? A chess player, I guess. By a chess player, and it was. I was thinking like Whovian, a Chessian.
I was written on the tin. Yeah. A Chessian.
A Chessian.
Yes. A chess enthusiast.
Oh, that's better. A chess enthusiast. She was going to buy a chess enthusiast.
A bishop fiddler.
I'll stick to chess enthusiast. That she got a flyer saying about going to a church meeting, to like a church group. And Bernie wanted to go, and Dotty kind of encouraged her to go. So I'm wondering if that's kind of like, this is a route we're taking now. Because I kind of jokingly said on Twitter, like, oh, this is Sarah Hills. This is what they did with Sarah Hills back in the 90s. And she became like completely obsessed with God, and it almost ruined her, this kind of obsession with religion. And I wonder if like she'll go to this religious group and they'll kind of find out that she had the child and gave it away, and then kind of peer pressured into then taking the child back. I wonder if this is the kind of track that they're going down with Bernie, and Dotty will be there along the road kind of like cheering her on.
This whole Bernie and Dotty thing is very random, isn't it? Now, don't get me wrong, I like a friendship. I've spent the last year or so, I know, but I've spent the last year or so sort of bemoaning the fact that there's no real friendships on the square at the moment. So if that's what this is supposed to be, instead sort of making people friends, then I'm okay with it. It feels a little bit like the Honey and Suki friendship, where you had two complete and utter polar opposites, and actually they got on quite well together. So I'm prepared to sort of look and see how well these two are actually going to work together in terms of friendship. That's because obviously Tiff's not around anymore, so Bernie's best friend has disappeared. So fine, I'll go for Dotty, the one that slept with my husband, with my best friend's husband. Why not? Because that's how Walford Square works. And it turns out that Dotty herself is a bit of a chess player because Sandy taught her how to play chess. In between looking for her next hit and her next fix. Turns out that Sandy herself is a chess master. So she taught Dotty everything she knew. So now Dotty is wiping the floor with anybody in the Walford Chess Club. Okay, fair enough. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, Bernie and religion. I mean, the way the way we're at the moment, this is leading into Bernie's going to join a cult or something crazy like that. Some sort of mad Christian. Do you? Do you think that's where it's going?
I do. I think that's where it's going.
Wow.
That's why I say Sarah Hills, because she kind of joined a cult, or at least there was a guy who kind of like made it into kind of like a cult. But she was encouraged because she was shoplifting, and then this guy was like, "Oh, have you found God?" He was a security guard in the shop, and have you found God? And then all the falling out. I mean, watch classic EastEnders, but I just feel like that's where we're going, and I think that Bernie's head will then be turned to think that what she did with Roland was not necessarily the right thing to do, and so then to answer your question is that she then gets Roland back, tearing Stuart and Rainie apart. Presumably, Stuart would be over his maternity issues as well by that point, but I don't know. That's just. I mean, it's nice to give Bernie a storyline, isn't it? Other than chess club, there ain't no party like a chess club party.
Well, yes.
So
yes,
that's
true. So we'll see what happens. Let us know in the comment section, as per usual, lovely listeners and viewers. Where are we going with this? Where do you think Bernie and Dotty are going? Do you agree with Alex? Is there a religious cult storyline on the horizon? Let us know. We will let you know how, and with all the general details at the end of the show.
Right, so the last story then of this week, before we have I Ain't One to Gossip at the end of the show, where we'll be reading out an email from one of the listeners, is Janine and Mick, and I don't know why I said that, like Janine and Nick and Mick, and they're in a bit of trouble and strife because Mick has admitted that because of his past, his history that we all know about when he was sexually abused as a child, that he has now become impotent and that he cannot perform any longer. He had that problem with Linda, didn't he? And it's kind of just carried on over with Janine. I think that's what kind of kickstarted Linda's drinking a little bit, because she felt like she wasn't giving her the man that he wants, if my memory serves me correct. And so I think this is kind of now being dragged down to Janine as well, because Janine tried everything in her powers to try to allure Mick this week.
Yes.
And one of the ways she did it was, would you like to describe one of the ways she did it, Rob? And
Well, I would absolutely love to, except that I didn't understand this at all. So Janine's way of, because Janine had a dress that she wanted to get into. That's fine, and as happens to all of us every now and again. Well, all of us except Alex, who hasn't put a pound on in about 10 years. There was a dress that she wanted to get into. And she put on a couple of pounds, and she couldn't get into it. So her solution to that was for Sonia to wrap her in cling film. Now, I understand that. I can understand that. I can understand sort of wrapping yourself in cling film so it creates almost a corset type effect. Which the whole point of a corset is to pull everything in, isn't it? So I got that. What I didn't understand was everything that happens after that. When she was in the restaurant. And then all of a sudden, Fate nearly died, basically, and had to be cut out of her dress from Bobby. Now, Bobby was a highlight for me this week. I really enjoyed Bobby coming down the stairs saying "man coming in." I don't know why that tickled me beyond belief when he said that. I can't explain why.
Down has heard that a few times. Wink.
Yeah, maybe not for a while though. They're not together anymore. Yes, I mean, for a start off, can we just briefly discuss the bathroom in Walford East, because those stairs do not look safe. They are the most curly-whirly stairs I've ever seen in my life. And when I go to a restaurant, Alex, a few bottles of wine tend to be consumed. If you're having a nice meal out, I dread to think how many people have tumbled down Walford East bathroom stairs if that's how they have to get to the loo. That is not. They are steep. They are unsafe, and if you're wearing high heels, you're going to die if you fall over on them. How does I don't know what.
Well, we haven't seen those
toilets.
toilets.
Walford East. No, we haven't, have we?
We haven't seen those toilets
sort of
since
area.
Tina. No, since Tina slept with one of the waitresses. So a very long time ago.
Oh my God.
About 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
So a long time ago. But what I always worry about with those toilets, and I remember having the same concern when we first saw them, is the fact that there's no kind of door or anything. And they seem to be like anyone could just kind of walk in. And not everyone will have the same kind of like modesty as Bobby as things like man coming in or anything like that. You know, so, and also, I don't want to sound crude here, but also what if you like pass something and it's a little bit not very nice, and it kind of, the smell kind of comes up into the restaurant. I can't think that's very hygienic either, is it?
Only your brain would go straight to that. All I was thinking of was the safety of the steps. You had to then take it down the toilet humour route, all right? It wasn't what I was thinking. Anyway, regardless of all of that, you can explain to me about the Cling film. It feels like it's the Cling film. Enough. But you can explain to me, explain to me why Janine nearly died. I don't understand what was going on with the Cling film. What exactly is wrapping yourself in cling film, other than the corset effect, supposed to achieve?
I think she hyperventilated because she had wrapped herself in so much cling film around her body that her body wasn't able to sweat, and she was getting hotter. And the restaurant obviously must have been very hot, and she was drinking alcohol as well, so that couldn't have been any better. And so she was kind of that's what happened. So she hyperventilated, and that caused her to pass out. And I think Bobby thought she was going to die just because she'd passed out in front of him. So he had a bit of a panic attack of his own.
Well, apparently, I was looking online about this, right? And I don't know if you can help me with any of the logic of this, but apparently this is a thing to wrap yourself in cling film because you are sort of sweating so much because because of the exact thing, the sweat. I don't understand how any of this works, but apparently, like, if you wrap yourself in cling film, it's a bit like sort of like instantly you can lose inches off yourself like through weight because you're sweating that much that you instantly will lose about 2 pounds or something. But it's not a safe thing to do, as Janine so beautifully demonstrated. But yeah, I wasn't aware of any of this. Yeah. I think it's worth thinking about.
It's an old wives' tale. It doesn't.
I've never heard of this, but
it doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work.
We'll see.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to drop this bombshell on you, Rob, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And anyway, this has been going on for years. Have you ever seen the film The Full Monty? Never. And the guy the larger guy who has to strip off, don't you remember the scene when he's in the shed, the potting shed, and he's putting this cling film around his stomach, thinking that was going to thin him off because he was embarrassed by his. See,
there you go.
Tale as old as time.
True as it can be. Anyway, so all of this happens. Obviously, it's the court case for Janine and Scarlett this week. Finally, we've gone back to the whole story of where Scarlett's going to be living, and eventually we get to court.
Even Janine forgot about Scarlett.
Even Janine forgot about Scarlett. You know, it's fair enough. So everything that's been going on with Kat, I think the Scarlett basically kind of got into the impression that, right, well, I'm clearly in the way here. She could see that Tommy's kicking off. She could see how much pressure Kat's under because she's intelligent. She's not a stupid girl. She's quite bright, or I thought so. We'll move on to why Scarlett might not be so bright in a moment. But and she's sort of thinking, right, well, I'm clearly in the way here. So she kind of gets Kat to change her statement. And Janine is taken completely by surprise when she actually receives quite a fairly positive response from a positive statement about her from Kat, who's obviously not at the court because she has to deal with Tom, who's run away in the huff. And Scarlett is basically handed back over to Janine's care. And Janine says to her, right, they get back to the square, and Janine says, right, you can stay at Kat's tonight, just go back and sort yourself out at Kat's, and we will make a plan from there. And Scarlett goes, yes, Mummy, fantastic, and runs off. Because Janine had been planning to move to Australia for all of this week because of everything that was going on with Mick. But then her and Mick had an honest conversation about Mick's past, and Janine was like, right, it's fine, I'm going to be a mature human being for the first time in my life, and I'm going to stay here, and everything's going to be fine. So, Janine and Mick go out to celebrate, cling filmless, and so they go out.
Yes.
And then Scarlett decides, right, okay, I need to go to Mum's now, right now, because Kat's clearly struggling. I need to leave right now. So she rings Janine. Janine doesn't answer because she's in the restaurant, and then Scarlett goes across and stands outside the house that Janine's living in, and just knocks on the door. No one's there. It's pouring down with rain. So instead of Instead of this doesn't feel like it was Janine's fault. Am I sort of seeing this wrong? It does not feel like this was Janine's fault at all.
It's weird, isn't it? Because like Janine said for Lamb Chop to come over to the house as soon as she was ready, and then ended up in the restaurant having drinks with Mick. And also there was a light on where Janine is staying, so I'm sure Sonia was there. And I know Sonia was a bit put off the fact that she had her birthday and Janine had stolen some cake because she gave it to Mick to celebrate Tina's birthday, which I didn't know
Sonia
was on the same
unconscious.
day. I mean, that's true. Sonia might not have been conscious, but she had that giant badge.
Yeah. Sonia wasn't conscious pissed on the sofa, so she didn't hear a thing. And Scarlett was standing outside with in the pouring rain, sort of feeling all unwanted, like Mum's decided, and feeling really sad and scared. Now that was the impression that the sort of the Duff was supposed to give on Friday, except that I didn't think that it really warranted it, because it felt that Janine had said to her, right, you go back to Cats and then we will make a plan as to when you're coming across. I don't think Janine instantly thought, right, I've won, now for me to go and get and get drunk with Mick and celebrate, and then I'll pick up Scarlett and then I'll deal with Scarlett whenever. I thought that she basically said, like, they arranged with Scarlett, right, we will pick this up later. So I don't think Janine really did anything wrong. But the impression was that there was supposed to be some sort of sad twist where Scarlett was left out in the cold by evil Janine. I don't think it came across that way.
Well, I feel like Janine was meant to remember that Scarlett was coming over, and I think that the idea was that Janine had forgotten. I think that was it. But then I think that Scarlett had left earlier than she maybe had, or Janine had first anticipated her leaving, because the argument between Kat and Tommy. So maybe she felt a bit awkward and then thought, right, I'm getting out of here. I'm going to go see my mum. But, at the same time, it's not like Scarlett knowing that, drunk... got her name already. Nat Cass. It wasn't exactly that drunk Sonia wasn't like answering the door, or anything like that. She could have gone back to Kat's house and it would have all been fine. So yeah, the kind of peril wasn't really there. And
she could have gone to the pub. There was options. She didn't have to...
There are options.
Yeah. She didn't have to stand outside in the pouring rain. She could have been fine.
And a lot of the duff-duffs this week, did you not find a lot of the duff-duffs this week felt like very much false peril? It's like when Janine said on Tuesday or Monday on the duff-duff, when she said, I'm going to Australia then. And it was like, no, you're not. What a cliffhanger.
And we're like, no, you're not. No, you're not, love.
No.
Yeah, it was. No. But exciting things happened this week, I thought. I think it was Lily. I think Lily got her first duff on Monday. It might have been last week Lily got her duff. But either way, Lily's got her first duff.
Oh, yeah, Lily.
I think it was this week.
Yeah, it was this week, because she talked
Lily but Lily got her first duff on Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was overhearing the conversation about Jean and sort of learning about herself.
She talked to Shirley.
And then yes, and I loved that scene actually. Yeah, we forgot to mention that earlier.
Yeah.
Really liked that scene between Lily and Shirley. That was lovely. And then Scarlett got her first duff on Thursday's episode. So it's like the kids are kind of getting all their little moments in the sun now. Tommy's had a duff, Scarlett's had a duff, now Lily's had a duff. So yes. I like this. The kids sort of becoming proper institutionalised inside the square with all their duff. It's lovely. So I mean, where does this go from here then? Does it Scarlett now is Kat now going to go? Oh well, you've ruined your chance, and now no, you can't. And then we're just going to be back to where we started with Scarlett living at the Slaters. Is that what's going to happen now?
I don't think Kat's got no disrespect to Kat, because she's got her own problems now. I mean, Kat's got so many problems right now, and I don't think she's really got time to look after Scarlett anymore. Yeah. She's got far too much on her plate. So I don't think there's time for her anymore. So I just think that now it's kind of like a what does Janine do now kind of situation. But I fear, I have to be honest with you, that it's Janine is going to get wrapped up by Monday, and Janine's going to kind of be like, oh, I'm sorry, Scarlett, I shouldn't have done that. And then it's going to be another 2 or 3 months where we don't see Scarlett, and Janine forgets about her again. But now she's living with Janine. It's fine. I hope not too, because you saying about all the kids are getting their duff-duffs, all the younger cast. It's so exciting seeing younger cast, and also a really strong younger cast. Like Lily is tremendous, as we've said. We didn't talk about it, but the Shirley and Lily scene was tremendous.
Oh, wow. And I love Scarlett. When I always imagined Janine coming back with Scarlett, genuinely, and I'm not even trying to sound big-headed here when I say this, and it sounds big-headed, but I don't mean it to be. Scarlett is exactly as I would have written her. That's exactly what I've always wanted Scarlett to be. I always imagined it to be sort of like absolutely fabulous, sort of with Adina and Safi, and Scarlett is literally Sapphy, isn't she? With like glasses and like obsessed with schoolwork and not a bad bone in her body, not an insane bone in her body. And then you've got someone like Janine as a mother, because it would have been so easy to bring to make Janine's daughter like just a carbon copy of her and make her an insane little child, make her a new Dotty basically. And that didn't happen. And Scarlett is literally the most innocent, sweet girl who likes going to school and likes reading and likes learning about stuff and likes making crystals at school and all that lovely stuff. I love Scarlett so much. So I really want them to build on this, and I really want them to build on the whole Scarlett and Janine relationship, because I think Scarlett's going to be a fascinating character growing up. Once Walford has, like, once she has been Walfordized, you know, and the stuff that happens on living in Albert Square starts affecting her, as well as having Janine as a mother. The future is bright for young Scarlett. I tell you now, she is I think Scarlett Butcher is possibly the kid that I'm most excited to watch growing up.
Yeah,
because there's so much potential there for us to have such a fascinating character with so many different layers to her and so much outside influence to sort of grow her into a really unique character. I hope. So,
hopefully, I hope they don't.
Tabitha Brown, welcome, young lady. We love you.
I hope they don't Peter Beale her and do what they've done with the current Peter Beale and turn him like 180 and did an Ian Beale on him. I hope they don't do that. But I just love that. But I love that there's such a lovely young cast, and they're all growing up together. They're all very similar ages, and it just feels like give it a year for them to kind of grow and blossom and just I don't mind that they're just in and out every now and then, but give it a year for them to kind of blossom and grow. There's potential there for them to have then storylines are centric around this friendship group of kids that live in Walford, like what we used to have with Michelle, Sharon, and Ian.
Yes.
And we had it in the 90s as well, which is what the show's lacked in such a long time. And seeing like so many popular
Will, Jada.
Yeah, exactly. And seeing so many popular kind of like teen or young, what they call them, tweens shows now becoming like hugely popular now on Netflix and on television. You know, I'm going to say Heartstopper. I love Heartstopper. It's fantastic. And if they did a recreation of Heartstopper on, that face said it. If they did a recreation of Heartstopper on EastEnders, I'd just be fine with it. I don't care. Plagiarise it all you like. Go for it.
For that.
But that's what I'd like.
I'm too cynical for that show.
Really?
It looks too sickly sweet for me. That
show. It's so lovely.
Everyone's cut. Oh, people keep posting like, this was my Heartstopper moment. I've never had a Heartstopper moment, so I wouldn't know. So I can't watch that show. It would depress me too much. Because I'm not in a Heartstopper mode at the moment, so I'd hate them.
Right. Well, that opened a wound that it was unexpected. But anyway, that was this week's EastEnders, and as Rob said, let us know what you thought with the details at the end of the show. However, we do have some time, so we had an email in this week, and Rob and I are going to discuss it now on I Ain't One to Gossip.
You know me, I ain't one to gossip.
Right, so this is the part of the show where we read out your comments on our Twitter, our Instagram, our Facebook group, and our email. As I say, all the details will be at the end of the show. However, we got an email this week from Dan Wilson. Thank you, Dan, for your email. And it reads, Hi, Alex and Rob.
Hiya.
I'm so glad to have discovered your podcast a few months ago and be able to listen to the opinions of people that are as passionate about EastEnders as I am. I even have a Dot Cotton / Branning mug at work. Oh, I'm jealous of that. Yeah, but you've got a calendar, yes.
Call me. That's my
I wanted to say a couple of things in relation to Jean's storyline this week, as well as the forthcoming Ben plot. Rob was spot on about the effects. They weren't over the top, and they certainly didn't need to be. After watching Thursday's episode, I went on YouTube and rewatched clips of the 2005 episode where Stacey goes to visit Jean. We met her for the very first time, and immediately Gillian Wright was spellbounding. What happened to Jean and Stacey this week was the latest in a 16-plus year history of both of their struggles with bipolar disorder, a struggle that will continue forward and that will continue to be played so incredibly by two phenomenal actresses. Yeah, very true.
Quite right.
My only problem is that being a fan of the 80s music is that now my love for The First Picture of You by the Lotus Eaters will forever be tainted by the vision of Jean walking into the sea and everything going black. So, fair.
There you go.
Regarding Ben and the appalling trauma that lies ahead for him, Max Bojan is another wonderful actor. We know full well that he will play the storyline so devastatingly beautifully, and that despite the horror of it all, watching such a great actor really getting his teeth into something is a delight, as juxtaposed as this seems given the context of what he'll be acting out. Ballum needs to be sorted out one way or another though, either make something concrete of their relationship or be done with it for good. As a gay man myself, I have been getting quite insulted by the way the relationship has been at times. Why does a couple considering a threesome have to be gay? I felt it implied that gay couples are more superficial than straight ones and less willing to commit to each other. So I hope you don't mind, Dan, but I did edit your email down a little bit there, but a few points there. So going back then to last week with Gene's story, he very much enjoyed it. And I think we kind of said we enjoyed it too. Maybe a few points were a bit different to others. Gillian Wright, we forget about this history, don't we, between Gene and Stacey, and they've had this long arc between them.
Yeah, and it just sort of feel like that I think is why I enjoyed the Gene story so much compared to the cancer stuff. And the cancer stuff did have its positives. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't say that the whole cancer stuff was a bit of for me, the cancer story kind of fell away after she found that sort of lump and then didn't know whether she had cancer for 10 whole months. That was where things started to go a bit wrong with that story. But up until then, with the whole Daniel stuff, that story was great. However, this bipolar thing, as Daniel so succinctly put in that email, was a continuation of stuff that we've seen with Gene and Stacey. That has always been, and not even just Gene and Stacey, but Sean as well. That's clearly a thing that the three of them have really sort of battled with over the years. And it was, it's nice to sort of have Sean poke his head into the story at one point, but you sort of have to remember that when Stacey first came in and when Gene first came in, you realised just how much Stacey had been forced to grow up before she was ready because of Gene's bipolar and how Gene reacted to the bipolar, and then learning that she had it herself. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, and I liked the sort of the callbacks, the sort of scenes between Gene and Stacey. There was a moment where I think Stacey said, "Do you remember forcing my head in front of the mirror and forcing me to look at myself?" And that was a scene in the early moments, in the early scenes of Stacey discovering that she had it. There was an actual scene, so it was
Fantastic
a nice throwback to that. So yeah, I agree. The Gene bipolar storyline was bloody marvellous, and it's not quite over. Obviously, Gene and Stacey have got a way to go before the relationship goes back to normal again. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. So like Daniel, you can get in touch with us and email us with any of your thoughts. Please feel free to throw us an email at any time because we love hearing from you. And you can do that by contacting us on Twitter and Instagram at Walford Weekly. You can find us on Facebook at Walford Weekly Podcast. On YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe and click the bell to get notifications about our spoiler videos. And you can listen to us on Apple, Podbean, Spotify or any of your favourite podcast sites. You can email us at robwalfordweekly@gmail.com or alexwalfordweekly@gmail.com. Right. How does this work? So I've just got to wrap it round myself and then.
Yeah. Put it around your head.
How does it work?
You'll be fine.
Wrap it round myself.
Put it around your head.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah.
Right.
That's it. Perfect.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do that, and you'll sweat it all out of you, and you'll be a svelte.
And then just continue to. Yeah.
So that's it.
By the time you come back next week, I will be as skinny as Alex. Can't wait for that. So, so until then, it's goodbye from me.
I sincerely hope people are watching this on YouTube right now because you're watching a madman Clingy film himself. And it's goodbye from me.
Bye!
I feel like we should have the Blue Peter theme ending. It's like you've just made Tracy Island.